There is still time for 2024 to be a great year for Nintendo despite all the doom and gloom that's, been going around recently.
Now, let me start off by being the voice of reason and say that nobody is stupid. Everyone makes the best decision based on their perspective of the environment and the information they have at hand. So yes, there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of people online who thought the Switch 2 was coming this year. And unlike some other people on YouTube trying to backpedal, I will, without hesitation, say yes, I was part of this group as well. I can't sit here and tell you I didn't, because I actually already put all my money aside to buy it and everything for when the pre-orders became available. But why did everyone think that it was going to be 2024 anyways? Where does that come from? Well, it's actually been a long time in the making.
Starting off way back in 2023, there was a rumor that hit that Tears of the Kingdom was going to be the last big game for the Nintendo Switch, and after that, Nintendo is going to start winding down for the preparation of the next console. And I'd say for the most part, it was basically true. No, not basically true. I should say debatably true.
The games we saw that year was Tears of the Kingdom, of course, Metroid Prime Remastered, Pikmin 4, Advanced Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, Fire Emblem Engage, WarioWare Move It, Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Now, I really loved Fire Emblem. However, I know that just because I really personally love the game, it doesn't mean it's necessarily the biggest game for Nintendo. So games like Metroid Prime Remastered and Pikmin 4, although, don't get me wrong, those were fantastic games, they're not 10 million unit sellers. So the only game I would say that personally I would debate whether it's a big game or not is probably the Super Mario Bros. Wonder, because yes, it's not on the same scale as Tears of the Kingdom per se, but it's still going to sell insanely well.
And up until recently, everything was shaping up perfectly for a Switch 2 announcement. Barely any original games are planned, and most of the year is dry of basically any Nintendo game in general. Sales are slowing down and rumors are picking up. All the variables needed to feel like, it's time. And with how the video game industry as a whole is at the moment, if Nintendo could have released the console this year, it would have been perfect for them. Because regardless of what people may say or believe, the Nintendo Switch can't live forever. Nintendo has to evolve eventually, and, they have, and we'll talk about that a bit more in a second. But first,
most people don't make it to this point in the video, so if you're still here, hey. My name is Akadrian, and I post new Nintendo videos every single Monday, so if that's your thing and you're enjoying the video so far, please consider liking and subscribing, and hopefully I see you around in the comment section. With that out of the way, let's get back into the video.
As for those who thought it was going to be 2025 all along, they also have reason to believe it, because even if the Switch sales peaked in 2021 and have been consistently declining year after year since then, the sales numbers are still objectively really high. If the sale numbers were in the stars and now you're at the moon, it's still insanely good for a console at this point in its life.
Plus, Nintendo has more than just games at the moment. With this year, we obviously saw the release of the Super Mario Bros. Movie that was a wild success for them. They're also opening more theme parks and Universals across the world. So those things are still bringing in some revenue for Nintendo, and they do seem like they really want to expand these parks and these ideas as well. So with everyone just screaming out loud, what is the true story? Well, unfortunately, I can't tell you what the true story is, but from piecing everything together, here's what I suspect. I really genuinely do think Nintendo was trying to get the Switch out this year.
Everything is perfectly in place to do so, but their lineup of games for launch and the launch window just wasn't ready yet. But do you know what that doesn't mean? That the console itself isn't ready. So, theoretically, yes, they could still release it this year, but that would be like me giving you my car, but then I don't give you the keys. What are you gonna do with it?
And I see some people bringing up some points that aren't necessarily bad points to bring up, but I don't think they necessarily are as strong as they think they are.
The first thing is that, how can it be delayed if it was never announced in the first place? Well, there are many moving pieces when revealing a new console. Whether it be warning the whole Nintendo team or other partners, the last group of people that will, know is the general public. So yes, it's entirely possible for the console to be internally delayed, even though it wasn't, revealed to the public. The next thing I keep hearing is oh, this is just the Switch Pro all over again. And honestly, I see where they're coming from, but I also just don't agree with this either. I genuinely believe the Switch Pro was going to be a thing, but with the chip shortages at the time, they decided to ignore the power boost and just go with the OLED panel Switch instead.
But realistically, all this negativity stems from we, the Nintendo fans, being burned twice in a row. First with the news of not only a Direct not happening, but if it was going to happen, it was going to be a partner Direct, which seems to
probably be this week. And actually, this very morning, they've kind of had advancements on what we might see, because PRO's just kind of been going ham on Twitter, hinting at a bunch of random different things. First they asked if Pokemon was a partner, which technically yes, but then they also said is Nintendo a partner, so I don't know if he's just trying to throw us off, or if he actually thinks there's going to be Nintendo games in here, or who knows, it'll be interesting. But that leads up into another point. If there is one thing that is true and will always be true, it's this. Nintendo has to be up to something. If a company wants to keep going, they have to be working on something, you know what I mean? This entire generation, Nintendo has just been sitting on games and waiting for the perfect time to release them. And I think that is probably going to be playing in their favor this year. What I imagine would have happened was that, they were going to save a couple of Switch games to release after the Switch 2 release, so it kind of felt like they were still supporting the Switch 1, and then they could officially move on a little bit later down the line. So let me give you an idea of the things that are still allegedly in Nintendo's back pocket and that they're just sitting on. These games would include Metroid Prime 2 Echoes and Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and it's been long rumored that this was going to be a double pack. Also, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD and The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD, which is another double pack apparently, as well with a new Fire Emblem game, well, not new, a new remake, and the speculated title would be Fire Emblem Echoes Genealogy of the Holy War, which is a remake of Fire Emblem 4. Now, there's two other games that I could mention, but I'm gonna hold off a little bit more and talk about them a little later. Now, if Nintendo really wanted to stretch things out, they could totally not release them as double packs and just as standalone games. But then I feel like it just creates an awkward year where you get 3 Metroid games and 2 Legend of Zelda games just kind of scattered out throughout the year, with just, a random Fire Emblem game thrown in between. But I suppose there's also Luigi's Mansion 2 HD and the Thousand Year Door remake that's coming as well. So I think this year is the year of the double packs for Nintendo, and I don't know if you caught on to that, but earlier I mentioned a double pack of Metroid games, but also having 3 Metroid games this year. That is because allegedly Nintendo is going to start their marketing campaign in May for Metroid Prime 4, so that's probably another game we could probably anticipate seeing this year. And of course, Nintendo always releases a game around November anyway, so we can always look forward to... Actually, I don't know if we technically look forward to the Pokemon games, but they're coming nonetheless. And the last game I hesitate to talk about is the long talked about port of F-Zero GX for GameCube. A lot of people were talking about it back in the day, but once F-Zero 99 came out, that pretty much just shut down the rumors, and everybody just kind of accepted that F-Zero 99 was the F-Zero GX port, so maybe it's still around, maybe. In this case, I really hope it is. But yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath for that one. So personally, I do think it's not going to be such a bad year for Nintendo like people are trying to make it out to be. And honestly, even though the Switch 2 might not release this year, it doesn't mean they're not going to show it. I'm not sure how much of a good idea it would be, but I'm sure Nintendo knows what they're doing for the most part at least. In the best case scenario, we might be able to actually see what this console might be. And on a more realistic note though, we will most likely see what it looks like anyways because it will leak out through patents and stuff, to which we will debate for months and months, saying, this is real, this is not real. But I think there is a silver lining here, and that is that marketing cycles and build-up takes time, and we really just don't want another Wii U situation. The marketing needs to be clear and concise, and it'll take multiple months between the announcement and the release date. And realistically, this delay is just a few months more than when we originally thought it would be, so it's not honestly that bad. So as people have been suggesting, please just start chipping away at that backlog that I know you have. I know I'm taking my time going through Persona 3 Reload at the moment, and I also can't wait for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that's coming out at the end of the month.
So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and let's keep it civil and not attack each other. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video and you're still here, like I mentioned earlier, please consider liking and subscribing, and hopefully I see you in the comment sections. See you next week. Warel.